Welcome to Devil's Advocate. I'm Mike Krause from CompleteColorado.com. Your usual host, John Caldera, is actually at a cheer dad duty at a cheer competition. That means he's fixing hems and carrying makeup cases. So think about that for just a minute. A little bit later in the show, we're going to talk about a ballot measure that will be coming up in November. But first, man, Dr. Jeff Young, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Jeff, Rocky Mountain Vet. Sorry, I don't know if you like that or not. There's a reality TV show around you and your veterinarian clinic here in Colorado on Animal Planet. And I was originally going to say, oh, you run a vet clinic here in town. But that's a bit of an understatement. You actually run a really significant animal operation that has international arm to it. So if you met some guy on an airplane and he said, what do you do? How would you describe Planned Pethood to him?
Well, I usually say I'm a veterinarian and leave it at that. And then the first thing
then he wants a diagnosis.
Yeah, they ask me a question about their dog or cat. So, no, I mean, Planned Pethood is a very large clinic. We do, well, we're down to about 10 to 12,000 surgeries a year because our procedures have kind of changed over the years. We're doing a little bit less spay and neuter because there's so many opportunities for other people to get their animals spayed and neutered other places. But in the end, I've lectured and done surgery in more than 36 countries. I'm associated with 4 or 5 different international, in other countries, different veterinary hospitals. We have an international training center outside of Playa del Carmen in Mexico, which we bring vets in there for free and train them for free. They get to stay there, live there for free, and train for free. So, and we've only been open a couple of years, but we've trained quite a few vets already. We got 36 French coming in July. 36 French veterinary students coming in July.
Well, that is an international operation.
Very much so.
Let's talk for a minute about the clinic, the clinic in Wheat Ridge. You're over there on Harlan Street.
Yep.
Used to be in Denver. In fact, I used to live right behind you. I lived on Stewart Street.
Okay.
The clinic was on Tennyson Street. And I remember every Saturday, there would be a line of people going down the block waiting for your low-cost inoculation Saturdays. Yeah. That still goes on, right?
Yeah, I've been doing vaccine clinics since I graduated from vet school for the most part. And believe it or not, 15, 20 years ago, those lines used to be miles long. It was ridiculous. And I went over the state and did those things. My basic fundamental belief is that an animal really shouldn't die from not getting vaccinated. So it's kind of basic health care. And since parvo is so common, distemper is so common, certainly parvo in Colorado, it seems like a real basic thing to do. I'm
astonished at the number of puppies that end up with parvo.
Yes.
When it's easily avoidable with just a series of shots. Right? Puppy shots. Get your puppy shots. Otherwise, parvo kills puppies.
Parvo kills puppies all the time. We have a really good success rate, but it gets expensive treatment.
You treat a lot of parvo dogs, but it's an expensive and it's a time-consuming operation.
So. Yeah.
Right.
Well, we don't make a lot of money on parvo dogs.
Well, you end up adopting them out.
Many times.
Right. So, what the inoculation clinic is interesting, but you also do a lot of other things that I think. And look, as I said before the show, my understanding of the vet world is writing checks over the years for my dogs. But that I binged watched the TV show when I was laid up with a bad back for a couple days, and I want my $10 back, by the way. That there's a couple of things that I saw that made it seem like Planned Pethood is fairly unique, and one of them was that people will drive from several states away with an injured animal. And a diagnosis from another vet, but come to you and ask you to take the case. Yeah. What's going on there? How does that?
Well, a prime example is we had a cat came out, it was spayed in Chicago, and it was adopted to a Humane Society. Now, they have a vet that they contract for the spay. They tie it off a ureter. Well, tying off a ureter ended up killing the kidney. And the cat got sick. They took it back, and they said, well, for $5,000, we can take out the kidney. They had to send to a specialist because the vet that did it wouldn't stand behind it. Right. And so they drove out. They didn't have $5,000. And I told them, come out, and I think I did it for $300 or $400, and the cat woke up and did great. And that's just a prime example. I really believe the greatest threat to pet animals in America at this point is economic euthanasia. The average average American, the hard-working average American out there doesn't have the money to go to the vet. And, even if it's an accident, hit by a car, or whatever, you got a broken bone, okay, we're looking at $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, and that's not uncommon for the same price. I mean, the same thing, we'll do for $600, $700, $800. I mean, we top out at $1,500. It's really, I can't think any time we've ever really charged over $1,500 for anything that we've done, including heart surgeries, anything.
Right, we talked briefly about this before the show. Let's talk about this economic euthanasia.
Yeah.
So basically what's happening is, so my dog gets hit by a car, right? And I come in, and I'm given essentially two options. One, the surgery, which might cost thousands of dollars to try and save the dog's life, or euthanasia for a couple $100.
A couple $100, and maybe $200 or $300, $400.
And what's the rational choice? And the reason I say the rational choice is that I remember the first time I kenneled my dogs. Mm-hmm. I had never done it before, and I went in and they asked me how much money. They wanted me to write down how much money I'd be willing to spend out of my pocket if something happened while I was gone, mm-hmm. and they had to go to a vet. Mm-hmm. And I really stopped and thought about it, and I thought, wow, that's a really good question. I really care about my animals. I really wouldn't want to go bankrupt over them.
Right. Yeah. No, and it's tough. It's heart-wrenching, and I think all the single moms, the people working for $12, $13, $14, $15 an hour. I mean, they
love their animals.
They love their animal, but at the same time, when you're faced with $5,000 or so, and do you want to go on that kind of credit card debt? Do you have a credit card that can put that much on? And then you go get these loans, and my God, you're paying interest out the gazoo. So I mean, it's a horrible position to put in.
What allows you to top out at $1,500 where some other place might need $2,500?
Well, okay, I drive a Kia van. Okay, so
you do seem to do a lot of vet work at a very reasonable price, and so there does seem to be a fair amount of volume involved there too. It doesn't mean you're making a lot of money.
It is volume. We're high volume, low cost, and it is about the turnover. And you run into problems doing that. Like if for the yoga pant wearing people out there, and I got nothing wrong with that. I love yoga myself. But my point is that kind of new age person, they want contact. They want someone to talk to them, hold their hand, and we don't have time for that. That's not what we're about. And so we do offend people like that come in. They want a deal, but at the same time, they don't understand why I'm not calling them 3 times a day.
Right.
And I always tell, and I try to tell my clients, look, I can spend time with your animal working on it, or I can spend time talking to you, because I got to spend time working on the animals. That's where it's important.
Yeah. Here's the other thing that I noticed that and you said something one time on one of the episodes of the TV show, and you said you wished more vets would do bone surgery. Yeah. And you do some ridiculous bone surgeries over there at Planned Pethood. I mean, some intricate stuff. And what did you mean by you wish more vets would do it? Is it just that they're not trained to do it, or is it too frightening to take it on sometimes, or is it just not worth it?
A little of both. I mean, I think part of the problem is the vet profession. The biggest one of the reasons we have this economic threat is that veterinarians are becoming more and more specialized, just like on the human side. The difference is we don't have insurance, because you can say we don't have great insurance on the human side, but we don't have a lot of pet insurance for those kind of things. And in the end, if they're teaching kids coming out of school, refer. And I mean, we get. The people with the PhDs don't like what we do. They think we should be charging more, or we shouldn't be doing it because we don't have a PhD. But it's like, well, if they're going to kill the animal, or I can give it my best shot, and after 30 years, I'd say my best shot's pretty damn good.
Right.
Why not? I mean, where's the harm in that? And I don't know. I just wish more vets would not be afraid and would step up and try to do these things.
I also noticed you have a fairly can-do crew. And here's the interesting thing that's happened is that several times, here's what I've heard several times. Sure. And this is not just on the TV show, this is being on the periphery of Planned Pethood, knowing folks over there. And that is that they say, well, I've never done this before. Yeah. But I'm a vet. I got an anatomy book, and I got a deep bench of talent behind me who could step in at any time. So you know what? I'm going to give it a throw. And that seems to me, is that unique? Do you think?
Yeah, no, and I think that's one reason so many of my vets, after a few years, end up going and starting their own clinics, and they're very comfortable, And I've started 3 or 4 vet hospitals indirectly, here in Denver. So I think it's important, and I'm the kind of person. Dr. Petra loves to take classes, and she's taken like 6 or 8 bone surgery classes. Me, I just like looking in a book. I look in a book, look at the pictures, read a little bit, and then go do it. I want to hold things in my hand, and that's just the way I learn. And my vets coming up, I'll do a surgery with them once or twice, and then come the third time, I'll say, look, you try it, I'm here. You get in trouble, there's nothing they can do. For the most part, there's virtually nothing they can do that I couldn't correct anyway. If they messed up or something. So, and that's how you learn. I hate to say it.
You got to. I'm constantly amazed at the amount of pain a dog will walk around in without signaling it to you. It's got to be interesting to have patients who can't tell you their symptoms and don't want to show you their symptoms.
No,
right?
There's no incentive in nature.
Right.
No
incentive to show weakness in nature
no incentive whatsoever.
And so, and their instinctive brains, that's still going on today, right? Right. Let's talk about. We were talking about this before the show. You are heavy into spay and neuter. In fact, I think we got some pictures that you do training internationally for spay and neuter, and you're talking about the difference between the number of. That's you in action, I assume, doing a spay and neuter there.
Somewhere.
Yeah, and there's. Training in Mexico?
That would be Mexico. That's the
training doctors. Here's the fascinating thing to me. Why do you need to go around the world and train veterinarians in how to spay and neuter? Don't they teach this? I mean, is this not a standard part of being a vet?
It is and it isn't. It is from the standpoint you learn the basics. Very few vet schools you're going to do any numbers, as a student, and as a student I think I did maybe 1 or 2 surgeries, and that's the amazing thing. When you graduate and once you're licensed, legally you can operate on anything from a mouse to an elephant. Morally, you probably shouldn't touch anything for a while. That's, and so our thing is to teach people to make them confident, smaller incisions, safe, fish as safe as possible and as efficient as possible. We've had great success with that. And there's people standing in line because they want to learn that. Because when they get out, they just really are. And I was the same way. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing when it came to surgery, and I taught myself. But in the end, I wish I had someone teaching me,
Yeah, so we were talking about animal population, overpopulation, actually, and the difference between that. There's a couple of ways to. It's astonishing how much of the world is still. There's still street dogs roaming, literally roaming the streets in packs. Feral cats. Right, and even right here in the United States, there's places where you can find packs of wild dogs roaming. And a long time ago, the cure to that was to just keep rounding them up and euthanizing them, which will never. And as you said, you'll never keep up. Right. Or you can go on a sustainable spay and neuter program. You were talking about the difference in the number of animals that have to be put down. Today versus when you were in vet school. Tell me those numbers again.
When I graduated in 1989, I mean the guesstimation, based on the surveys and stuff, was we were killing 24 to 26 million animals a year.
But here in the United States.
Here in the United States. All right. Now, depending on who you want to talk to, it's down to 2 million, maybe to 4 million. I think it's always probably a little bit more than what we ever say it is because you get, because of the no-kill movement, there's a parsing of words, and lots of people say, well, we don't kill adoptable animals.
Right.
No
kill does not necessarily mean we don't kill animals.
Exactly.
We don't kill. And we kill in extreme circumstances.
Exactly. So, or it has a torn ACL and we don't have the money for it. So, so there's, but in the end, there's no question that the number one threat is not overpopulation in America at this point. It really is economic euthanasia, and I think the overpopulation issue is always there in the background. Overseas it's a whole nother story. Overpopulation is the major issue. And the sad part I see in a lot of these third world countries, like even Mexico, you have these no-kill shelters opening up. And it's funny, you walk outside them, there's 100 dogs on the street around them because they might get fed. You accomplish nothing.
You need a lot of no-kill shelters.
You need a lot of no-kill shelters, and that costs a tremendous amount of money. So.
Or you can go and you can train veterinarians into the notion of spay and neuter.
Spay and neuter, absolutely.
And it's interesting because the picture, it doesn't look particularly pleasant, but it's actually. I mean, you do a lot of these, right?
All the time.
You just do them all the time, and animals recover very quickly from this?
It's really, really rare we lose an animal. And we do 2,400 to 2,800 in 4 or 5 days in Mexico,
Good God.
And if we may lose one a year, and I understand these are street dogs, virtually, no vaccines, we don't know what they ate. We tell people how to hold them off food. They come in, we had a dog vomit up a whole rat one time, I was like, okay, I mean, besides making everybody else sick. Exactly. Street dog and that was a big rat. I'm like, oh my God, So, you see everything down there.
But you do this here in town, right? You still do the spay and neuter clinics for people people if people want to. I mean, every once in a while, I've seen Planned Pethood out, and people. I'm astonished, and we were talking about this as a cultural and maybe a generational issue. That when my mom got our family dog neutered, and apparently now, I mean, that she knew to go do that in the 80s, that I was like. Yeah. What the hell? You took his balls. A guy needs his balls.
Typical male
reaction to this. And today, today I see people walking dogs that are intact, and I think, what the hell are you thinking?
Why isn't it fixed? Yeah.
Because it's actually there's health benefit to this, right?
Yeah. I mean, absolute health benefit. Yeah.
And so, what does like neutering do for a male dog?
Well, there's been pushback in a few years. There's a few studies, some out of UC Davis and thing, and quite frankly, they have major flaws. And the major people that have done spay neuter and do research like Bushby and stuff still think spay neuter is the way to go. In the end, there's no question a spayed and neutered animal lives longer. Period. End of discussion. And if you look at the Banfield did a report, it had involved 2.3 million dogs and 470,000 cats. The biggest survey ever done in the history of mankind when it comes to dogs and cats. And consistently, where the spay neuter rates were the highest, the animals lived the longest and were the healthiest. So you buy life. You buy about 1 to 3 years for the dog. You buy about 3 to 5 years for the cat on average. So it's amazing the difference.
Fantastic, thanks, and keep it up. You guys run an impressive operation over there, and
we try hard.
You churn and burn them over there too. It looks like, man. There's a lot of people in there all the time, and appreciate you coming by today.
Thank you very much.
Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.